I'm still waiting. Orientation is locked. Okay. Well, so now you're gonna tell me what fucking what do you? What? So there were some points, guys, that I watched my video. You know I did. You know I did. I was tempted to watch it again, and I didn't. Okay, I only watched it back once so far, thus far. This last live I had, where I mentioned because I was well to update Nerve. Let's see, it's saying an hour and 7 minutes left. 2.1, but okay, nerds. Nerd alert, nerd alert. Probably the better way to go about it would be how many gigs of gigs left, right? So it's saying I have 2.1 of 3.5 downloaded, nerd. So I am, I'll be reaching out when I'm done with that, or whatever at some point. So thanks again. But to continue on, I didn't finish some things I had mentioned in that last thing, my last live stream, because this ties in with the whole Christianity thing and the TI thing, right? Like this that connection that is there, guys. Like clearly the TIs know this because they talk about it all the time, right? And that's something that Nerve has also noticed, not being one of, or considering himself, right, like one of these, being in one of those groups, but he observes that, okay? So that's good, right? That's called subjective, guys, kind of. So it's a necessary evil, right? Because to belong to both of these types of groups, right? Say Christian and TI group, and then notice this pattern. Where do we go from here? But so for somebody to not belong to them and notice that, that's a healthy thing. But I've always related like this whole thing that's happened with me or didn't happen with me, whatever my story, right? My story that I talk of. Um, my meaning name, open to interpretation, right, guys? Like I said, I could be Jeebus, I could be Satan, I could be a vampire from the 12th century that come around every 700 years with another group of vampires. Whatever. The point is the line, the baseline of my story is this thing of like you would assume and even if you're not religious, but okay, so this tech thing, right? Like that I've mentioned the mark of the beast and tech bad. Yeah, so by like just assumption or societal norms, it would appear that they'd be enemies, right? Like this Christian or just religious, right? Like spiritual say, and or godlike, god-fearing people, right? Whatever they refer to God as, just god-fearing people. And then you have the techies who, I don't know, they're either atheists or they just aren't god-fearing. They just are like about like science, right? Their god, their master is science, right? Yeah, I know you guys are so different. That's why I hate, like, that's why I'm so tired, because like this whole life has been like, like my whole life has been like, okay, when I was younger, my dysfunctional parents would fight dysfunctionally. Dawn style, I've mentioned Dawn in my last video. The Paul McCartney gal, she would go in her room and go introspectively, put her headphones on and all that. Now Sam, aka John Lennon girl, she would tell both of her parents to both shut the fuck up. You're both annoying. You're both wrong and stupid, and to please shut the fuck up. Thank you. Then she'd go in her room and like do her thing, or go out and play with the dogs or something, and introspect. So take that example and put it outwardly into my life, like a worldview. Yeah, world, like it's still that way. So this faith thing and tech, it actually, they by all means should go together, because the point is, the fear of the God fearing people of tech is that it could get taken out of hand, right? Essentially, if people aren't, it's magical in the sense of like I've said, as far as any field of any sorts, if you are not educated in it and others are, it can be used to. That's the game of life, right? Sadly, that we're like, yeah, maybe one day we'll get to a point where people, it knowledge is knowledge shouldn't be given to all hands. And guys, you scared, like, God fearing people, This is why I don't fit in with yous either, because I defend secret societies in the sense of what their intention was originally, which was one, to prevent themselves from being persecuted, whether it be through drowning in lakes or burning at stakes, for sharing some truth bombs out there that would help you humans. That it seemed like they were evil, right? But if you had taken a breath of fresh air and came back, like you would have been like, oh, like they're just like they're living in a cave, like what would their agenda be for like telling me these things, right? And then look at like, oh, but then the Pope, right, and like the king, they're saying they're evil, and I'm just gonna go with them because they're killing more, and I don't want to be killed, so. Like, yeah, like you should have seen that like all these centuries ago, guys. So secret societies were formed, and why I defend the concept of them is because that is what they were. So people eventually, these intelligent witches and wizards, they learned like, oh my god, like we have to be kind of we're forced into being hush hush. We don't want to be all secretive, right, and coded. Like I think that's probably where that began. They learned for some reason they weren't supposed to speak directly. If you're religious and you believe, if you're Christian, right, and you're God fearing, Jesus is your Lord and Savior, you would know He speaks in parables for this reason. That's why He speaks in parables, so people can read between the lines of what He's saying without just taking all of His wisdom and like abusing it, essentially, right? It'll fall on deaf ears, so to speak. They're hearing the words, but they're not hearing it. That, eyes to see, ears to hear. Yeah, it's the same for the fucking secret societies, which is why, again, as is that I can't make anybody happy on any side. But, yeah, he just didn't go around wearing, well, he did wear a robe, I don't know what the fuck Jesus wore, but guys, I really, okay, I do, okay. So here, the thing with secret society, yeah, so they started doing that because yes, it was, and because of what I've said, this thing, knowledge in responsible hands, right? So even if they weren't burned at the stake or drowned at the lake for sharing some truth bombs, right? Against like who would this bother, these truth bombs, right? Usually those in power, those with money and power. Call it government, if you will, as we see today. So um, yeah, it was bothering them. So yeah, they got persecuted. Oh my God! Like let's like. So yeah, they learned how to, and also, like I said, because responsible hands, that's how you end up getting radical Joe Rogan Experience fans or Trump supporters or any, you don't want to be jaded and just like not help people with wisdom and knowledge, right? But then I'm supposing, guys, I'm not going to theorize and get into like the different factions or fractions or whatever of like different secret societies. Certainly, I believe there would be some that don't really appreciate others, or their style or whatever. Their blood, some of it became that way. So in order to protect, right? Okay, so like this thing happens in human like experience, right? Where, okay, so we learn, oh shit, like we're gonna get fucked up, like what is it? What is it? Like why? Like guys, like did you hear what happened to them over in Zimbabwe? Like they were just talking about love and like bettering themselves, and now they're gone. Like yeah, they're all at the bottom of the ocean. They're all sleeping with the fish now. So like what should we do? Like cuz I don't want to live this life like pretending like I want to help people, so they all got together, huddled, right? They huddled after kissing cat butt in honor of Satan. They kissed some cat butts, and then they thanked Satan and said, "Oh, like, yeah, like let's be more secretive in how we share this info." And those, like, kind of like Jesus's in the future parables, it will teach people, like, oh, like they're listening, like so we don't get quite a loophole, I suppose you could say, right? A loophole of just sharing knowledge. So really, like a loophole in free speech, or like free speech rights. That's always been a thing, guys. That's why secret societies were formed. They're not all terrible, all right, or at least they weren't. That wasn't the intention of them, right? But as time goes on, as most way too long, Things get to people's heads, right? There's this thing called ego. I mentioned that no matter what, guys, even at the end of the day, we all die with an ego. Even those monks that you've seen like transform into a ball like of rainbow fantastical lights, and then they like you see their highest self, like Joe Rogan, like a vision of him just sleeping, dudeish like. Yeah, like let's say they transform into that. No, because like I'm sorry, Buddhist monks, like again, you're not in this life, okay? I'm not saying that would. I'm not saying that they don't. You did die with an. You're dying. If you're human, you're dying with an ego. I'm sorry. You still got there. Because I guarantee you, right before you fucking burst into that fucking orb of magical, like, rainbow crystal, like, fucking whatever's, like, oh shit, yeah, like, this is really happening. Like, yeah, I knew I was right this whole time. Like, you have that. You fucking do, alright? So there's no way you don't, and we can't even we can't debate it because I can't prove it, and you can't disprove it. But trust me, I know, alright? So we all die with an ego. So eventually these secret society, like it gets their head, as with anything would with humans, because they fucking ruin everything. Give it, idle hands are the devil's playground, right? No, it's you fucking the people. Stop referring to people as pots and devils, okay? Because it's you, people. It's yous, okay? All right, it's yous peoples. All right. So these secret societies, right? Yeah, that wasn't there. Now some of them, I believe, it got connected. Like you can only belong to particular ones because of bloodline, because they thought at that time like that would prevent disloyalty and like tomfoolery, right? Or like what is that called, treason, right? Like people sharing shit they're not supposed to, or whatever, like breaking their law, their secretive laws, right? So that's how that probably became a thing. Like if people assumed, right? And again, that was their mistake. You assume that your bloodline equates to like, hey, like we trust these people. Yeah, no, big mistake there too. See, like all these evil secret societies, they got schooled too in human behavior and just like general life wisdom, guys. So nobody is more powerful in that regard as far as having knowledge and wisdom, because they're like, oh fuck, like, but I thought, hey, he fucking he betrayed us, and like he's my my grandpa. We have the same grandpa. It happens, guys. It fucking happens, right? So that's how that came to be. How you blame, like I said, how you blame fucking like um one particular secret society for all troubles and whatnot. It's like, no, I wouldn't. No, stop. So anyhow, the evilness of tech, right, versus these God-fearing people, it would seem to be that way, right? Because again, people who are more knowledgeable in this tech world, they would be able to abuse their power, in case of any, like I said, subject or like study, right? Wouldn't it make more sense then, right? Like I said, the joining of hyenas and lions, like they join together to prevent that, right? Because if you're talking religion and you're talking like God-fearing people, right? They veer away from those kinds of like field, because they view it rightfully. So there's reasoning for it and it's justified. But as I've said, everything gets taken to a radical place. Now these techie people, right? These evil techie people, their only issue is like their own ego, because most of the time I said if they're not just atheists, then they're just whatevers, I guess. They're just like whatevers. Like they would be strictly their ego. At the end of the day, guys, both sides, it's still your fucking ego. Because I said if you're dying on the hell of a mountain as a Buddhist monk that you devoted your whole fucking life to fasting and praying and kneeling and repeating words in a certain order and all this shit, right? At the end of the fucking day, before you blow up into a magical orb, you're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I did it. I did this. I was right. So again, that's your ego, okay? So it's your ego no matter what fucking side you're on. So my thing was recently, this whole Elon Musk's like, oh, is he like, because he's so, like, what is it with this guy, right? Like, he seems so personable, but, like, there's something just not this whole tech thing. But yeah, it would make more sense for, like, okay, so anarchy, right? Like, essentially tech, right? Like, just anarchy, right? And then, like, God-fearing people, like, have more law, right? So you got that going on. They would seem to not join forces, but they must, because in order to prevent what we've feared, which has already happened, which you're fearing again happening, it's this whole thing. It's this whole thing, guys. So yes, like the hyenas and the lion, like Scar had the right intention. Well, he didn't have okay. Scar had Scar and the Lion King. Scar and the Lion King. His ideology the ideology I could get down with the Scar, but his whole reasoning for getting there and all that, it was a little I can't support, like just the whole jealousy of like your fucking like, several decades less, younger like nephew, that whole thing and all that. And his reasoning for joining the hyenas and lions was wrong. Like the ideology itself, great, but all of everything behind it and all of that with Scar, wrong. Now, like Mufasa, he was just like straight up like, "Hey, this is son. This is the best thing I've learned. Like this is what's been taught down to me from all the great kings of the sky." It was like, "Don't go over there." So that would be you God fearing people, or and tech, right? Like the dark shadowy area, like the hyena. Yeah, so in that regard, tech people, they would you didn't want that's just what the best thing to do was, was like stay away, but you can't always prevent that because Simba proved like that. Really, it was Nala. Really, it was Nala, guys. Nala kind of, she did a little whispering in Simba's ear. I don't think Simba was kind of clue. He just wanted to chase bugs or something. He would have been fine with that, Nala. But you had to show him the elephant graveyard and shit. How she learned of it, I don't know. I'm not blaming her either, guys. All right, maybe we need to investigate that. Who the fuck told Nala? How did Nala know about the elephant graveyard? This is why you have to have secret societies, so that shit just again, responsible hands. Nala should have never known about the elephant graveyard in the first place. So somebody was talking too much, all right? But the point it happened. We can't go back and untell Nala and let lead some of that way. So yeah, guys, the fucking God, like this whole thing, like that's why like you can't be too extreme in one field. So the law would prevent that. You would need you can't fear if you're a Christian, like, and I'm talking about, and this is, if anybody, I'm briefing you up on like this whole like TI thing, right? Like how a person that's not considering themselves a TI nor Christian, aka Nerve Girl, right? Like he's outside of that. He's noticing this pattern of like people like me considering. Now I never said Christian. Okay, see, I fall in that. That's where I'm in that cozy middle. That cozy middle. I always find myself in all subject, in all of my life, where just fucking everyone fucking question. How does that happen? Like, how does that happen where everyone is like really not like I have an agenda for all, like I told you I'm that secret, I'm that vampiric. Every 700 years we just come around, we're a vampiric religious radical peoples, or vampires really, that just come around, and we have our own fucking agenda, which is for all of you to shut the fuck up and listen and stop. Like you're all terrible, okay? That's our agenda. So in that regard, yeah, like my agenda would be I'm against you, because I just don't like any of yous, as I've stated before. I just like to remind people to keep, or try to be open to having an open mind, so it doesn't get all fucking out of wackadoo, out of control, and now you're burning people on literal stakes, metaphoric stakes, and like, and we're like in 2024 where we can't even decide, like, like, oh, like people are still fighting about like racism. Like I can't do it. So, but yeah, like it would make sense. TI, like I said, we're going to refer to this community still as TIs, and I'm going to refer to the tech people as the Goblin Swarmers, right? I'm a hybrid, guys. I've already shared this with you. How many other fucking allegory, metaphor, fucking symbol? How many other more signs and synchronicities, right, or symbols can I give you? All in all of you various fucking like schools of thought to show you that I'm both. I'm both, whatever you want, a hybrid, right? Call it a hybrid of what, just energy, right? Or I don't know. And now, so yeah, why I'm not trustworthy is because I am never owed. My master in my mind would be just truth. Truth. Yeah, it would be called neutrality, right? Is that a healthy way to be? No. That's why I'm fucking tired. I've never cared about dying because I see it, guys, as like a break, right? That's my vacation, essentially. I've always thought. And I wanted to touch on that with the subject of death because I mentioned to you guys the other day Rusty's video about his cat dying, and how that was one of the videos that I first was like, oh, like really, really got me respecting Russell Brand. And I watched it recent. I just shared it on my community tab. I would recommend everybody watch that. It's a great video, and what he says about it. It's not long either, guys. It's not. You would think, right? See, that's where you guys see, you guys, like you, Joe, all you fucking people. You got like hours long shows, okay? And a lot of us just like to watch our own self. So like, just give us enough, give us enough blips, right? Blips and blops and like nuggets of knowledge to like grasp, and then call it a day, right? Or break down your shit, because you see that number and it's just off-putting right off the bat. Like, what? But anyhow, death, right? So how I've always seen death, I told you guys, like, oh, I'm so dark, I'm so goth. I'm just like, I was born listening to Breaking Benjamin. I was born just like, just this tortured soul, kind of, yeah, kind of, because I've always when and Rusty mentions this in his video, his reaction to his cat dying was one of the hardest, like gut punch. He had a harder time with that than any other death of like a human he known, and same goes for me. People might, again, they call it cold, or soulless, essentially, right? Like, how come, like, I've explained to you guys why that is. Whatever the case or reasoning is, Rusty is the same as me in that regard. Where, like, yeah, I mean, I've bawled over like cats that I've rescued, like, and not all of them. I've had this weird thing with death, guys. Where, here's my dark, deep secret. Okay, first of all, death is just always. I've always found you call it a necessary evil, right? I've never feared death because I'm confident in my faith, or whatever you want to call her. Just not, fucking nice fact, that scientific or religious fact, that life goes on. It does, okay? You can't. None of us can explain it in a way that we'll grasp, because then we wouldn't be here doing that, and we wouldn't be discussing it. Okay, we'd be past that point. And you non-religious people, like you straight up, like non ones who are asking people like, oh, why does he do that? Then you're already behind in the race in that regard. I'm not defending any side here. Now remember that. Saying you're taking it and assuming that the people who believe in God in the sense that you assume they do, which is like the sky daddy representation of one guy that like is personified as them. If you were truly in Godhead status, you would never have these thoughts, because that's why you got there. Because he would be like, this is fucking stupid. I'm just gonna go be God, because I don't want to waste my energy, my God-like energy, like dealing with this, like these debates that don't matter, and wasting time. We talk about Saturn and time, and really that is the time. Yeah, like, yeah, I don't want to waste time like with this. So anyhow, yeah, like, so death to me, I've always found, first of all, when people die, like I've mentioned, guys, my my introduction to death was like, hey, where's my Grammy, and then I seen her have a on the floor after having a stroke, and all the chaos surrounding it, and I never cried, like I never, it just wasn't in me, like, to be like that, like, like you hear that someone died. I've never done that, like even celebrities, right? I like this big, who would be one, like some celebrities that died that Charlie Murphy. I was like, oh man, like, or like what's his name, Tony Soprano, when he the actor, like. It's not to say that I don't feel, guys. Okay, there's been this weird little part of me, talk about being, here's this devilish part of me where I'm like, oh shit, like they're at peace, good for them. Why can't I be there? Like, talk about that would be where I'd be jealous. Like, that's where my jealousy really did lie, guys. Is like when people died, it's like, why are you guys sad? They're like they're not here, you know. Like, what should if I'm crying, it's because I like why wasn't that me? Like when Lord, when's gonna be my turn to die? Like I don't want to go to school tomorrow. Miss Taravel is so mean. Like when's gonna be my turn, you know? So that's why how I've always seen death. Like certain but the weird thing about me and death is I don't like suffering per se. So where it would seem like I'm not a fucking Nazi where I'm like, hey, like exterminate, like it don't matter, like God will know his own people, right? Like just get rid, like we're doing God's work by like exterminating all kinds of life. No, no, I don't like suffering. So I've mentioned like this thing with like bugs, for instance, and like me swimming in my swimming pool, not being able to ever enjoy it because bugs were always flying in there and I'm just like like flapping around and swimming and like pretending I'm Ariel or whatever, enjoying life. Like I said, having fun in the sun, and I'm seeing this thing, a bug or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is, I know what's going on. It's experiencing death. It's heading towards this death that you all fear so much, and I know, you know, in my case, I don't like killing either. So there's been times where I've had to kill a bug, and and I know it's the more humane thing to do, and quick nip, that kind of thing. Like, so that's where my like thing with death is, like, or my struggle or like fear of it. It's not so much the death itself; it's the suffering leading up to it. The death is the peaceful part, and you guys, and nobody can prove or disprove that. But I mean, I can't. I'm telling you. I mean, that's why you should just live a good life. That's where talk about like take religion out of it, right? What you would refer to yourself as a good person, I know can be subjective, right? But um, but for the most part, like I said, if you don't believe in God or you're just over it, like you consider yourself on your deathbed, you're that bug in Sam's pool, right? And Sam's, you're like, what the, like you're that beetle, you're that beetle, like swimming in Sam's pool, and you're on your deathbed, okay, and you're like reflecting, like this is really how I'm going down, and like um you are looking back and I don't know, would you be overall like, would you, if you, let's just say you were God, right? And you were the accuser and um, you were God and the devil, right? You're going to say the accuser. We're all our own accusers, right? But if you were God, would you be like, all right, yeah, no, you proved that was shitty, you admitted it, and you changed? Like, would you be happy with yourself regarding anything, And now, if um, you were that beetle, right? And you were in Sam's pool, and you had that thought, and you forgave, like, God, yeah, oh my God, like, yeah, no, I'm not terrible. Then probably for like some weird thing happened where like you were suddenly lifted up like through this magical chariot, aka like pool cleaner, like a screen, like a filter that's like, and I like, oh, and then you were just like you went back to life, but you were never the same again, like this near death experience. Yeah, like, yeah, and then you just change, then your life improved for the better after that. Like, yeah, like that's how I see death, guys. So, but so now, okay, but see now, take that beetle for example, right? Now me as Samantha, now imagine me, Samantha. You're that beetle. You're going through this process, right? This reflective time, and like you're talking to God, and like you're having your judgment. It's your judgment day, and this little girl who's swimming in the pool, who's tired of having to save all you fucking bugs that keep coming in and interrupting her fun in the sun time. Um, she's like tired of it. Finally, she snaps and she's like, rather than just save all these bugs and like wait for them to crawl on the fucking screen and then like not get off when she keeps flinging, like hitting the like the side of the pool, taking them way longer than necessary to help these things and getting nothing in return. Um, she realizes, like, let me just smash them, because, like, they're pretty dumb to come in here in the first place, and then they were really dumb by not letting me help them. Like, I could have more time to myself and fun in the sun if I just smash them, right? And kill them. But no, I don't like that, because it's not, I've just never felt it's not my place to take the, like, I don't know. That's where I struggle with death. It's definitely necessary, I feel. I don't fear it as far as, like, yes, the physical aspect of it would, I suppose, would suck. But guys, that's when, like, you can believe in a higher power or not, but call it just by the grace of science or creation, right? Like, the grace of creation made it so that, um, I always reference The Sopranos. Their writing, first of all, their writing is just good for everything, but most particularly when, like, the way they write is so accurate to, like, like when they had, like, dreams, like Tony Soprano, like, he'll have, like, weird dreams, or when he's in that coma state in the last season, after he got shot, and he has that weird, like, Kevin Finnerly or Finnerty, like, confusion where he's Kevin Finner. That's how I correspond death. I think they did that so well, that show, for just dream, like anything, but particularly death, because that's, I believe, how it's perceived when it's happening to you. Like, and I don't want to freak anybody out, because, guys, I did do okay, I did do this. I watched this movie called oh, I have to look it up. I have to, guys. Okay, what's her name is in it? Okay, so it's about a plane crash. This group of people survive a plane crash, right? And what's her name? The one that played Catwoman. She's like fancy. What? 17 going on. Is she the one 17? No, she's 17. What the fuck is her name? Okay. Passengers, I believe it's called Passengers. It's not 2000. I think it was 2008. I'm gonna tell you guys now. Passengers. Yeah, okay, with Anne Hathaway, 2008. Patrick Wilson, great movie. I thought it was, because there's a scene in there I'm gonna reference too. So anyhow, I watched that back in 2008, and guys, I went to get ice cream afterwards. Like, me and Chris, my ex, the one that passed away, and we watched it. We went to get ice cream, and I was like, am I dead and don't know? Like, I got carried a little too away in thought from watching that movie. Passengers, though, great movie. I would recommend watching it. And the gist of it is this. This is according to IMDb. A grief counselor working with a group of plane crash survivors finds herself at the root of a mystery when her clients begin to disappear. And it ties in with the Soprano thing and death I mentioned, because I won't ruin it, but I mean, I kind of did, I suppose. But yeah, guys, watch it. If you did watch it again. There's a very touching scene in there. If you watch it, watch a scene where she hit her dog, or like this, her dog keeps following her, like a pet that had passed away. I believe it was a husky. Very, like, that's how I see, kind of, or like, and it ties with the Soprano thing, the Kevin Finnerty thing, because yeah, like, he's alive physically, like, he's in the coma, but he's experiencing death, and yeah, like, he's not aware. But I think at some point that happens to all of us, regardless of the way you die. Certainly certainly some forms of execution are more traumatic than others, and that's where energy would come into play, like where you would have ghosts and, like, spirits perhaps lingering, because if it's done in such a traumatic way, um I can't get too deep right now about it, but I mean, just think about that, like, like, think of a physical murder, right? You want it as least messy as possible. You want, like, the crime scene, you don't want a lot of crime scene cleanup. That would extend inwardly to energy too, and, like, or emotional, you know what I'm saying? Etheric planes and whatnots too, right? Because yeah, you want the least messiest crime scene, and you want the least messiest crime scene cleanup when dying. And yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying, guys, that, like, that unaliving, literally. I'm saying, like, let's say God is your murderer, right? That's what we're talking. He's murdering you, all right? He's unaliving you. You deserved it, and for whatever reason, and in this way, but I think he would prefer to be, like, less messy as possible, because, like, yeah, just extend that to an energetic level. So yeah, that's why I've mentioned in one of my first videos, guys, I said just don't fear the Reaper, like, yeah, like, so I've always had this weird, like, um, this weird, like, because me saving the bugs, yeah. So basically, it's not like, no, I don't, they can't die. No, it's like, hey, I kind of, sorry, I'm not killing you. It's kind of like my, it's kind of backwards in that regard. I'm not saying, guys, that I want everyone. That doesn't mean, like, this is why I relate. I've mentioned Dark Crystal, that one death cult that everyone's scared of. Same kind of, I've mentioned with the Cathars that get this rep of, like, oh, they're a suicide. They was all about it. No, guys, you can't take, like, sometimes they come back, right? Sometimes they come back, and it's because death isn't, it's not like they don't want humans to be extinct. They just want bullshit that is pertaining to humans to be extinct. And sometimes that means people overstayed their welcome and need to go. All right. If all things, trust me, I would. Don't you think? And I live in La La Luli land. Sometimes when I'm La La Luing and around on my carpets, just La La Luli, like rolling around, just singing or whatever it is I do when I'm just aimlessly rolling on my floors. Um, when it's not the wackadoo, like angry la la looing is terrifying. I don't know what one would be doing in the name, like, I don't know, but I presume la la looing is like happy, right? Everything is grand. I'll get along. That's just an impossible world for everything to, like, live forever, and just, like, eventually that would mean you expand to the point of, like, we bring up Jupiter, right? Expansion, that would be an example of when expansion would be bad, because eventually kapowie, there's only so much room in a balloon or anywhere to, like, for things to go. So death is necessary, and that's why these people, like, yeah, they weren't suicide cults. Not the Cathars in particular. These Cathars that didn't exist. Yeah, that's they weren't. That's not what they were. And the same for, go looking, like, guys. If you want an idea about the Cathars, right? You need, like because their teachings are, like, not survived, allegedly, Vatican. One thing prior to my Kevin, before I pass, right? Like, and I find out I'm not Samantha Torre, I really am Kevin Finnerty or whatever. I would like the Vatican to release any of the, any Cathar knowledge, anything pertaining to what we call or understand the Cathars to be. Yes, please, I would like that. That would make things kind of nice and easy breezy, beautiful. Cover girl, I don't even hate you, Vatican. I don't even hate you like that. Isn't that funny? You know what I'm saying? Should I? I don't know. But yeah, that would be cool. But since in the meantime, world, in the meantime, you want a grip of the Cathars, go watch fucking Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. That's the new one on fucking Netflix. Just go look up on YouTube clips for the Death Clan. I forget their name. Here, I'll tell you now. Fucking tell you now. I can tell you now, because you guys, I can't evens with yous. Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, Death Clan. Is it the Dousan or Dousan are an extremely elusive clan found in Crystal Desert. They are secretive and inward-looking. They navigate the dangerous, shifting. Okay, so Dousan. Okay, so the name of the clan, right, is the Dousan Clan. Dousan Clan. That's their name. Their hometown is the Wellspring region, Crystal Desert, Madra City. That's their Madra, totem animal unknown. Okay. Colors. Core element lightning. Clan color orange. Sigil color darker yellow orange. Pennant color is orange, blue, and yellow. Spelling and style. Dousan, like I said, Dousan. Dousan characters in the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Dousan character traits. Their traits: traditional, introspective, spiritual, lonely, fatalistic, aloof. Clan description. Madra Sethi is the matriarch of the Dousan, leading her nomadic clan with the help of several Sandmaster captains. She's quiet and ageless, preferring to listen rather than to speak and to perceive rather than to judge. Madra Sethi takes her role of passing on the legacy of Gelfling funerary sites seriously. As the Dousan are rarely gathered in one place, this means relying on a close-knit group of apprentices called Sandmasters who bear the will and authority of their Madra when she is unable to attend events in person. They travel the Crystal Desert aboard their crystal skimmers, huge ray-like creatures seeking wisdom and enlightenment within the vast and changing sands. All right, there's quite a bit here. I'm going to link this, actually. There's a website about the Dark Crystal mythology. I'm going to link that, guys. That would be the cat. There you go. That's the Cathars right there, right? All right, and if you people that are whatever, I can't. But yeah, I wanted to say that, like, so tech and God-fearing people, it needs to join forces so that there's some kind of you have to have people who, I don't want to say, I would say, okay, when you're associating, I guess constraint, right? Some kind of like if we're talking religious people, right, they usually have to prove that their willpower, like they have to prove celibacy and these things, right? These sacrifices that seem foolish to those who don't believe in what they do, but that is why, because that is training you. I'm saying atheist people who don't believe. That's why those things, yes, it has a silly, like, understanding if you're just going by physical, like, yeah, don't masturbate because demons form, like, yes, of course that's going to sound silly. And some of the religious people doing it that don't know why they're just doing it because they think their heart's in the right place, but yeah, they're not getting it. It's a sacrifice to prove self-control, essentially, so that you don't one day, should you be put in a power of position or authority of any kind, you don't abuse it, or you at least are like you hit not right away, you've at least you've had to go through some kind of test, right, of character. So that would be that why people, the Cathars at least, were doing stuff like that. They're trained that it's proving one to your own self. I've mentioned me with fasting. I just want to prove it for the willpower aspect of it, guys, because in some regards, yes, I have very good willpower, self-control as far as like ethics towards others. As far as like abusing my own body and self, no, I have no control, guys. Okay, secrets out. All right, so that's why I want to prove it to myself. But yeah, that's why you would go through these tests of like faith, right? It's really what faith is like your self-control, so that should you ever be put into a position of authority or whatever, authority or knowledge, that can extend, that's a very vague blanket. I'm saying authority, not literally like government per se. Authority of any vaguely saying authority, knowledge or field that you're well versed in or whatever. Yeah, because I've mentioned that, the mad scientist healer like duality, right? In order to become one, you had to have become the other. Yeah, so non-religious people or atheists or whatever, that's why people end up doing those kind of sacrifices. Now, as is the case with anything, it gets taken out of hand if they don't understand why they're doing it, like vowing, like vowing to like never, like all these shits. Yeah, it gets taken out. But guys, as far as my perception of death, so yeah, it's like that scary sound that she's the angel of death, right? Like this title or something, like this. And I say it metaphorically, guys, in an allegoric kind of sense. All right, guys, I ain't sitting there. I don't ever wish death on people. I don't want that. I want to see the best for all of us. But I'm sensible enough to know that's just not a plausible existence in any plane. That's like I said. That's when expansion to the point of explosion happens, essentially, right? Things can only go so far. But as far as death, no, the Catholics were not a fucking suicide cult. They weren't a death cult. They weren't into and like guys, and Vatican, yeah, please, can the Vatican please release any fucking documents pertaining to these non-existent Cathars or whatever you want to. You know that I know that you know. We both know. We all know what I'm referring to when I say the Cathars. No, don't twist my. You know what I'm talking about. These people, right? This group, this clan. Can you lift some info out and spread it to the world and knowledge about them? Besides just people having to read it in a coded sense on the Dark Crystal mythology website that I'm going to provide here today. That way they can be vindicated at least in like, hey, they weren't like they weren't just like these weird, like, yeah, fuck, they weren't anti-humanity. They weren't anti-humanity. Okay, guys. All right. Thank you. Have a happy, non-deathful night or day or whatever. I don't fucking care. I honestly, I can't stand